I'm very excited. Subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. Uh, what was I going to say? Oh, my heart is out to everyone who is suffering from the fires right now. I'm kind of taking a step back on reaching out for guests because I want to be respectful to that tragedy. I am actually safe, but I know so many people who've lost so much. So I just want you to know that new guests might take a while to come in, and I'm just kind of like looking at the situation from afar, seeing who's affected and who's not. I'll probably try and reach out to those who aren't really affected. Even though I did reach out to a lot who are affected, I kind of don't feel comfortable sending follow-ups because the truth is, a podcast is fun and all, but when someone loses everything, it's just not, it's just not something that's on their mind doing a podcast. So I wanted to be respectful for that. So I just wanted to give you guys an update on that. Subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. I'm very excited for this guest. You've seen her on Last Comic Standing, um, the Tonight Show, Jay Leno, and I got her through Instagram. My first time Instagram ever worked. So thank you, Instagram. Shout out to Instagram. Play Instagram music right now. Do do do. Just kidding. I don't have a mixer. The great Tammy Pescatelli is going to be here, so it's going to be great. All right, guys, subscribe, rate, review, and enjoy Reza with Tammy Pescatelli coming up next.
From Hollywood, California, welcome to Reza Riffs with your host, Keith Reza.
Hi, Tammy
Hi,
Pescatelli. How are you?
I'm great. Can you hear me okay?
I can. How are you?
I'm good. My computer decided today would be its last day. Apparently, my computer quit. So
Oh my gosh.
you're
Wow.
on my phone. So sorry about that. I just make sure you're good.
Oh, no worries. That's the problem with AOL.
Oh, wait. Who's on AOL?
No, that was a bad joke.
Oh, no, but it is. Well, listen, I do have an AOL still, by the way,
Oh, do you
because
really?
I held on to it after like they stopped paying for it because so many people still want to contact you. At least I know if you have my AOL, you really know who I am.
Oh my God. Yeah. My AOL like screen name was like hi, my name is Keith 714 or something. It was something so stupid.
Oh, that's awesome. That was like me. I can't even remember my MySpace. But boy, I was super popular on MySpace. If I was an influencer on MySpace. I think I had like 80,000 followers on what good does that do you now?
Yeah. Well, for MySpace, that was huge. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
So,
that was the first I was on TV when that on, like it was all simultaneous and also Dane Cook was a friend, so he helped me figure it all out. And yeah, what good did it do ultimately? Nothing.
yeah. Dan Cook was the king of the social media presence, I feel. Like he really started that,
He
you know.
really did. He really laid the groundwork, and I learned so much from Dane.
Yeah. Well, speaking of social media, like I hate social media, especially Twitter, because like I'm in this Twitter fight and
Uh-oh.
that's just like always the wrong answer. You know what I mean? Like you should just not do that.
It's so weird. Everybody tells you don't pay attention, don't let that, but it's very hard sometimes. And the problem is you don't know sometimes righteous indignation. Like I was just talking about this. It's funny that you would say this, Keith, because as a comic, I expect everybody to love everything I do.
Right.
I don't, I think humor quotient is different for everyone. Even my favorite comedians, I don't love all of their material. Like I loved Eddie Murphy's Delirious. I didn't love Raw. You know
Right.
what I mean? But I still love Eddie. I expect everyone to like me. And you can say, okay, it's not funny, even though it's stupid to waste your time saying it's not funny because you take joy from someone else who thinks it's funny. So now you've stolen a moment where you make them feel weird. Am I weird for thinking it's funny? Really, what you should do is just leave. But I digress because now getting ripped apart every once in a while on social media about things that have nothing to do with funny. You're old, you're ugly, your shoes are wrong, your hair is bad, you're this, your nose is big. And I'm like, wait a second. When did it become about our physicality? I guess I
Right.
didn't come into comedy. I came into comedy to make people laugh. I'm not even of the ilk of the young female comedians who were allowed to be good looking. Like I hid everything about my femininity. Do you go into a Starbucks? Do these people like don't like their Starbucks, so they then go the people behind the counter like you're a blonde idiot. Like, I mean, do they just rip people physically apart all the time? I don't think they do that. They just go to Coffee Bean and give a bad review for Starbucks. They don't attack the person.
Which bad review is probably just like being attacked nowadays. I
Well, no, I mean, like they just
mean,
come at you for everything. And it's like, you're supposed to not pay attention to it, but
yeah.
every once in a while, I have the time and I will literally go, if someone attacks me about what I physically look like, I'll go on their page and find a picture of them, screenshot it, and put it back on my page. So if you want to play this game, I have the time and I'm a professional stopper.
You're
That's
right.
really what I'm a verbal assassin. If you want to play and we want to go looks tat for tat, let's do this. And 9 times out of 10, it's not a supermodel, male or female, that's sending me that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I wish in my experience I had one of those fights, but I'm having a fight about autism, and like
Hmm.
autism is very dear to my heart because I'm on the spectrum.
Sure.
And this person was saying, "Oh, now everyone's saying they're on the spectrum." And I was diagnosed when I was 13. I was very nonverbal, and actually stand-up comedy and speech therapy really saved my life. So
God
I
bless you. That's awesome.
so I took huge offense to that tweet, and I'm just battling someone who's very uneducated, you know what I mean? And I'm getting all their trolls, and I was just like, this is really like I sank down to that level. You know what I mean? Like
No, but sometimes what you have to understand is that tweet, it's probably it's understandable that you would be offended by it.
yeah,
To the average person, I get offended by it because it's not even their tweet that's upsetting me as much as technically there's a grain of what they're saying is true and it diminishes what you really have. It's
right.
not fair for that's really where the problem lies. You really are on this and it's unfortunate that all these other people are there too who don't really call for it and are using it like as a card or as a whatever status kind of thing. When here you are really, it's like my brother can't find Ozempic that he's on for her severe type 1 diabetes because all these starlets are using it to get skinny. He really
Right.
needs the Ozempic. You really are autistic. It's unfortunate that people aren't taking the time to understand that the problem isn't that everybody's on the spectrum. The problem is that not everybody deserves to be.
Right. And yeah, so I just thought like, oh my God, like, cause I would love to fight about comedy or something like that, but I'm fighting. So like, it's just like, I felt like for 20 minutes, I felt like one of those, like weird Trump supporters or something. Like
Hey, I'm not a weirdo, you know.
so,
Yeah.
or the weird Biden supporters. I don't know. I don't like politics, but like, it's
I don't
just,
like any of it. I
yeah,
don't like, and it'd be funny that you'd hear this from me, but I don't like, as a Sicilian, I don't like fighting. I'm not saying I'm not good at it,
yeah,
you know, but I saw something once that really, I spent a lot of time in therapy trying to, I was very, I come from a culture that was very, and I grew up with my grandparents and everything else because my mother was sick when I was a kid. And I grew up with that respect, disrespect, and you respect me and you don't disrespect me. And if you disrespect me, we're going to fight. And it's all this stuff. And I made a lot of bad choices and caused a lot of acrimony and arguments for no reason, no
right.
reason, just over what I deemed was disrespectful. Who cares? So what if it was disrespectful? Keep moving. And but it's funny because I learned, do you want to be right or do you want to be alone? That's the only reason I'm able to stay married is because all right, a lot of times I would be right and we could fight this all day long. But do I want to be right or do I want to be alone?
That's actually really smart advice because I feel like like even stupid fights, like if I have with my family or whatever, it's kind of like, do I want to be right, like you said, or do I just want to seem intelligent? Why am I continue fighting? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and then even though we might be the person who has the correct information and we might be smarter than that other person, are we really smarter to fight with a dumb person? It infinitely makes you dumber.
Yeah.
You know, right?
Well, thanks so much for putting me at ease with that, Tammy, because like I was like, oh, I don't want it to ruin my interview. And, it really, thank you so much. I
No,
appreciate that.
I do it all. I can so relate. I was the right person for this moment for you because I'm telling you, my husband's like, oh, don't pay attention to what people say. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't understand attacking a comedian. It has nothing to do with their material. Like,
Right.
uh, my entire adult life has been spent trying to bring a little bit of joy to people, like literally missing my family and doing things, that are missing things that I'd like to be doing sometimes, to go on the road and do a show. So for that hour, you forget your problems and you come sit and laugh with me. If you don't like it, that's okay. But at least my intent and my heart was pure in it,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I can't bash social media too much because social media brought me to you.
Yes, and my one of my best buddies, Sully McCullough, what a great guy.
Oh, I love Sully. Yeah, I thought that was cool because he shared the reel. And like, I don't ask people to share because, like I said, I'm not really like, I feel social media is kind of an illusion. Like, I don't think it should be about how many followers you have or how many, I think it should just be about if you're funny or talented. And maybe this is why I can't get into clubs. Like, I can't get, read at the improv to even pay attention to me because I don't have thousands and thousands of followers. You know what I mean?
Well, and listen, Rita's my friend. She's been around for a long
Oh
time, and she's
shit,
really
maybe I
good.
should
She's great.
retract.
No, 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 no. You don't have to retract. She understands too. Listen, it's not just you,
Oh,
Kevin. I can't get a special right now. I've been doing this for 30 years. I've had a lot of specials. I have a new hour that's really ready to go. It's funny. I could lay it down with anybody's. I'm proud of this new hour. And I can't get anybody to do it because my social media numbers aren't high. I'm of a generation that's not just me, it's myself, John Heffron, Lonzo Bowden, my group, my graduates, Sully. There are people that are solid, like delivering comedians, but somehow we lost out on the social media thing. Like I went to bed for all intents and purposes in 2020 with a great career.
yeah,
I had good numbers on socials, but they were what they were. They added to it. They weren't the entire career. And I came out of the pandemic way far behind than from some average, teacher who was, God bless him, but regurgitating another comedian's act and getting millions of followers. And now we're so far behind all the social media stars that the actual entertainers aren't able to progress. And
yeah.
it's really weird. I mean, but you just got to keep doing what you're doing. Do the people come to my shows laugh? Yes. Do I keep having shows? Yes. So then that's all I can control.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat as you on that because before the pandemic I mean I've never been a national headliner. I've always been a feature, but I
But
toured
that's
with
how
an
you move up. Yeah.
yeah, but I toured with the national headliner for 9 years and then the pandemic happened. He died, so like now I can't get into clubs on my own. So it's
Oh,
kind of
I'm
like
so sorry. I don't know who you were
oh,
touring with.
it was Norm.
You were with Norm. Oh, you
Yeah.
guys, you Kev. Of course it was Norm. I
Yeah.
love Norm. But
Yeah.
there are places, talk about it. We'll figure something out. Maybe I can help you try to figure out a few things. And I mean, some of the places I'm playing a lot of Midwesty East Coast things, so it wouldn't financially make sense for you to come out. But when I'm the other way, if it makes sense, let's do it. I mean,
Oh,
do
that
you like to be on the road?
I love it. I love comedy more than life.
I'm
Like,
no Norm. I don't get the respect like Norm. Everybody loved Norm. I don't get actually it's funny. I don't want to say like I get no respect like Rodney, but that's my thing right now is like, all right, maybe I missed out on socials, but I was a female comic before when there were only 20 in the entire industry, right? I never traded in. I kept all my clothes. Not that I'm shooting anybody else who doesn't do that down. God bless them. Do whatever. I wish I would have been naked on stuff because then I would have pictures of it.
Right.
But like like I I feel like oh gee, I would keep waiting for that respect to show up, and I just don't know that I get it all the time.
Well, maybe you and I could do a respect tour.
That's it, right?
Right?
But see, that's my see how mental though I am? What did
Right.
I say? Does it always come back to respect? I don't psycho. I'm psycho. I really am.
Yeah. But I mean, I've always loved you as a comic, because
Thank you.
you did the Showtime special, and I don't know where you filmed it, but I thought that that was a perfect intimate place for comedy. It had Carol Leifer, Caroline my
Ray.
mind Ray,
No,
my
you
mind.
got it. Great
Yeah,
comic.
great comic. And I just thought that when I watched that set of yours, I just thought, oh my god, that because like I said, film could also illusion stuff, but it seemed like it was a very intimate little theater. Y-
Yeah, I didn't have any choice. I mean, that was their show that they asked us all to be part of. Funny women of a certain age, and it's fun for me to do. It's people go like, "Oh, you're doing like I did Dirty Sexy Funny with the girls," and that I've been doing a lot of girl stuff in the past decade, but I didn't get to have that coming up. I spent decades on the road showing up as an MC feature and then headliner with all guys, staying
Right.
in a condo with guys. I so for me, when I saw female comics, they became like my best friends. There was no competitiveness. I was like, I want to be with you guys. Let's hang out. Like you get me. So yeah, that was a fun set. That set, I felt. I'll tell you something else, Cap. This is why you have to stay strong. That came out. We were actually at the Today Show promoting that on March 13th of 2020.
Oh my
My
god.
that came out March 14th. My own special came out on Prime March 17th. I really thought 2020. I really thought prior to it being pandemic that I was going to get all this promotion, that this was going to be the year that took it to just a different level. Like I'm not looking for fame anymore. I once was. Don't kid yourself, but
Right.
I'm more just again, it's the respect. It's about I want it to financially make sense for me to leave my kid and my husband, and miss all those things. You got to get paid for the things that you miss,
Right.
right? Um, and the world shut down, and all of it just went. So it was really nice that that particular show came out. Funny women of a certain age. Jay Leno called me out of nowhere. As a matter of fact, I didn't even really think it was Jay Leno. I thought it was one of my friends who can do the Jay Leno voice mocking me and saying that set was a perfect set, like a development set. Have you heard anything? Is anybody helping you with it? And I was just like laying in my bed for the fifth day in a row crying
Oh my
because I
gosh.
because I had lost like 137 gigs, and I'm like, oh my god, my special's coming out. No one knows to look for it. No one knows where it is, and yeah, but that was a compliment. And then you just take those things. Those are the things you have to learn gratitude and be grateful for.
Yeah. Well, if I was Jay Leno, I would totally like help you with that set. I'd be like, make it happen because I like helping, especially comics that actually it's really hard to make other comedians laugh. And I think like when there's a comic that can make you laugh, that there's something special about that.
Have you ever noticed that most of those comics that make other comedians laugh are either extremely frenetic
Right.
or extremely deprecating?
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's like a crazy common thread. Now, are you in LA right now?
Right now I'm in Huntington Beach, which is about, I don't know, 40 minutes away from LA. So I'm not
Oh,
affected by the
yeah.
fires or
Good, good,
anything.
good, good. Yeah.
But I know a lot of people who are, and it just breaks my heart. But
It really is. I think comedy, hopefully, and all we can do is just give these jokes, but I think people are going to be depressed out there for a long time and really need help.
yeah,
So I'm hoping that somehow, the world will change just a little bit with laughter.
Definitely. And another thing why I like about you is because you're an actual comic. Like I don't mean to sound like a little insulting if it does, but you're not an actress, you know what I mean? Like you're a comic. And I think like
Yeah.
comics who stay in the comedy lane, I think that they're the type of comics I want to be, where comics who try and move into acting, they kind of lose the grip of stand up.
Well, I have to tell you, that's good and it's bad. I appreciate that. I was a comedy basically, and I'm not even a great comic, but I mean, I think everybody finds their voice. I'm definitely the best I've ever been. But I wanted to just be a comic. I
Yeah.
used to see a lot of people come up with their 7 minute monologue, their 7 minutes that they had, so then they could go be a famous actor or actress. And it was like, oh gosh, you can tell when you're using the stage for something else. And I just love stand up. I didn't grow up in a sad environment. I don't want to say them, but when you I was raised by my grandparents who were immigrants, and then I went when my mother got better, she had cancer a bunch of times. And we have suffered a lot of death in the outer family. And then I got to be with them my high school years full time, and it was great. But when you're like that for you, especially culturally, we didn't have a lot of joy. So I just wanted to laugh. And then when I found the business of laughter, like I never wanted someone to say to me, "Oh, she got that because she's a woman, or she
Right.
traded in, or she dated this one, or she did." And now I wish I probably should have dated in a little bit more, but um, I should have auditioned more, and I should have taken act. I should have stayed. What happened for me is every time I got heat, I went on the road trying to sell tickets because I love the stage,
Right.
and I probably should have stayed in LA, jumped in an acting class, and maybe made my career a little bit easier on me. But as time has gone on and I've gotten older, and I think they know what to do with funny women now, I've gotten cast not a lot, but at least one good thing a year for the past 4 years. So,
Yeah. Do you ever think like maybe though like that was like, I mean I don't know if you believe in a upper heaven, but do you think that that was in the plan for you to help? Because if you chose to stay in LA and do these acting auditions and stuff, you might not be the type of comic that so many comics admire. You know what I mean?
well, that's very sweet. I don't know that I definitely believe God is what gets me through. God's what keeps me from punching people in the face on a
Right.
daily basis. You know what I mean? Like I try to, for me, I don't know. I think everything happens the way it's supposed to. My husband and I met through two separate groups of people in LA, and I was ready to never be married because I didn't think anybody would understand my lifestyle. When I was pregnant, I was one of the first like Caroline was pregnant, but she had Sabrina the Teenage Witch money, right?
Right.
Of course, there was Roseanne, and everybody would go, "Well, Roseanne was pregnant, and Joan has kids." Yeah,
But you
but they
couldn't
were all
tell
super
Roseanne was
rich.
pregnant.
So, yeah, you said it. Um, but they all had different money. I'm just literally a stand-up comic who's I couldn't I make my money on the road. So when I found out I was pregnant, plus my agent, I went through so much. It was so great to see that Allie could do her special pregnant. But I lost my special that I was supposed to do because they were like, "Oh, she's pregnant. We don't want to see her." My agent was so rude about it. I actually turned it into one of my jokes, but said, "I've never seen a pregnant woman on stage." And I literally actually said, "Then you've never been to a really bad strip club." Um, I went to a comedy club. I was about 7 months pregnant, and I showed up, and the owner was mad that I was pregnant. And I didn't understand it. It took me a second to understand why he was so angry. Angry. I didn't know that he was mad that I was pregnant. And finally, he just looks at me and he goes, points at my stomach. He goes, "No one told me." I said, "What?" He goes, "No one told me this, that you're pregnant." And I was like, "Well, it's not your baby." Like,
Yeah.
why would I tell you? And he's like, "Well, don't you think it's distracting for the audience?" And it was so funny. And God rest his soul, my sweet Ralphie May had been there a couple weeks earlier. And I was like, "You just had Ralphie. He's 400 pounds. He's got me beat by like 100, 200 pounds. I think we got this covered. All right."
Yeah. Ralphie was the sweetest, man. Oh my gosh.
Guy, a really good guy.
Yeah. He's probably one of the few comics that I could honestly say I've never seen bomb. You know what I mean? Like he just I mean,
Yeah,
I
he never bombed. I never saw him bomb. We did Last Comic Standing, and then I was on season 2. He was on season 1. Then we did this failed show, or was season 1 versus season 2. And Ralphie showed up one day, like 5 hours late, and we had all been waiting. And he said that his father died. So what he did is, instead of doing his set that night, he talked about his father, and he cried at the end, and it was like really somber and sobering. It was like, wow, what a risk, and that's amazing. And we were all like so sad, and hugged him. We all ran out and hugged him. And then years later, this is horrific. Years later, I went to his memorial at the Improv.
right.
These pictures of him that were recent with his mother and this guy, and I said to somebody, who's that with his mom? Is that like his stepdad? And they're like, that's his dad. And I'm like, I thought his dad was dead. He rocked us all. Like, he fake lied and did the whole thing with the tear, like an Indian crying over litter in the 80s. Like, did it. So funny. So
Well, see,
funny.
that's part of genius too, in a
It
way. Yeah.
is.
So, like, because oh my god! But I wanted to ask you about Last Comic Standing because
Sure.
I feel Last Comic Standing really helped your numbers and your sales and stuff. But did you
Mm.
also, when you also did it, did you also feel like maybe I don't know because competition on a comedy show, I believe you could judge comedy, but I believe you can't competition it. Does that make sense?
No, I agree 1,000%. We weren't really, so it was early reality television.
Right.
They really didn't play it to us like it was a competition show. It was a competition show, I'm not going to lie. But we also lived in a house for 30 plus days together as a group of comics. So ultimately, part of that group was so amazing because, as I mentioned, what I just say earlier, John Heffron, like my brother, Alonzo Bowden, like my brother, Ant. I have so much respect for Gary, Todd Glass. I talked to Bonnie McFarlane yesterday. Like, we're so close with some of these people that were
Right.
part of that group. And I think when it was sold to us as a reality show, we thought whatever happens in the competition part is what it is. It would at least be fair. No, I'm sorry. Let me take it different. We thought at least would be fair. It turns out it was a reality show where all of that was just made up by the producers. The producers lied and told Bonnie that I thought she wasn't funny. Told me that Bonnie said I wasn't funny. So we were at each other's throats because we believed it. It was early reality. You didn't think a producer would lie. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It was just upsetting. They told Corey Holcomb that Ant was afraid of him. Not true at all. Like, just horrible things that they did to elicit reactions. And then me, back then, women on early reality, if you think about it, like, now we're savvy to it, but you have to understand this is 2004, and women had 3 roles on reality television. They were either the wacky weirdo, they were the bitch, or they were the, for 80s term, or 2000 term, slut. Right? That's how they treated. They treated Bonnie that way. They treated Kathleen Madigan as if she was the weirdo, and I was the bitch. And I'm not saying that I'm not, but I'm
Right.
just saying
Right.
I wasn't in those situations. They manufactured it. There are times where it looks like I'm saying something mean about somebody, and if you look at the editing, we're in the room together. Then it cuts to me saying something. I'm in different clothes, and then it cuts back, and I'm in a different out. You know what I mean? They Franken edit it to get their story. So
Right.
it was really scary for me, really.
And see, it's so weird because, like, if you take a show like The Bachelor, where they are, backstabbing each other because they want to sleep with the guy or whatever, comedy, it's like in the end, what's the goal is to make everyone laugh. So that's why I didn't really like. Don't get me wrong, I think it's entertaining and stuff, but I just feel last
I
com
agree.
last comic standing. I just don't know how you could competize comedy like that.
Yeah, it was. Well, the only way that it really worked was, especially our season, is that we all technically won. We
Right.
had by the time that season ended, we were at 18 million viewers. It was amazing. It raised our recognition. I'd only ever done the Tonight Show before that. A lot of those guys had done specials and things like they were, so I was, but it was just amazing. So I felt like ultimately, once I could wrap my brain around that they were trying to create characters, it
Right.
was unnecessary for them to do that. Like it started, and I was having people over to watch it, and by the end, before we went live, I was like sitting in the dark with my phone off, just trying to watch it to figure out like how how are they going to make me look today? Just ridiculous.
But and then let me ask you one more question about it. Do you think that
Sure.
maybe it wasn't a producer's thing, but it was a network thing, or like?
No, it was producers. Networks, NBC wanted nothing to do with us. We were at what they had the NBC upfronts, or they had all of the upfronts, but NBC had their own thing. And the scripted division, the bigwigs of the scripted division of NBC turned their backs on us. We were the number one show on their network, and they refused to, like, they tried to introduce us, and it was a man and a woman, turned their backs on us and walked away. It's why NBC ended up tanking for a number of years, because they had built these characters from this reality show, but they were resentful over the success of a reality show, not over us individually, but and if they would have taken most of us, we were all signed to some, I don't know about all of us, but I think a lot of us were signed to at least a holding deal, if not
Right.
a development deal. But if they would really bother to develop with any of us, they would have blown it out of the water, you know?
Yeah. Wow. And
Yeah.
then, well, in a way, I'm sorry that happened to you, but in a way, thankfully that happened to you because you're on the TV, right?
Oh yeah,
So-
no, it's all good. It's just like anything else. You realize that once you go through it, it's good that you went through it, right? Like, and then
yeah.
it becomes material. You know what I mean? I remember us trying to quit, and we were having a meeting because they decided to go instead of the final five. I was lucky to make the final five. They were like, "Oh, we're going to add another round because we got such great ratings," and all of us who were in the final five tried to quit because like, what's the point? Like, this isn't what you told us. And they were like, "We're going to sue you for $50,000," and I was like, "Well, you could have stopped at 1,500."
Right.
I don't know.
But speaking of like the TV too, like I don't know if you were around during the Carson days where the Tonight Show, where like if you did Carson, that would really help a comedian out where they could sell out anywhere for the rest of their lives. And then like when you do Leno or Letterman, it helps, but it doesn't necessarily, you know
Ooh,
what I mean? And then
yeah,
like,
that light just went out.
oh, everything all right? Oh,
Yeah, everything's good. Just the bulb just died. Yeah, I was a big fan of Carson. I used to watch it with my grandparents. Um, I think he was. I don't know what year he retired. I started, like open micing and stuff in '94. So he might have been around, but yeah, it was always Well, it was supposed to be Letterman, and then he had a heart attack, and I waited for 2 years. And then finally, the Leno people kept coming and saying, "Are you going to just keep waiting for him? Or are you going to wait, wait, wait?" And I was like, because they had a backup log. He came back after a certain amount of time, but then
but
their
he
log
has
was
to
backwards.
help
Yeah.
everyone. Yeah.
So so I made, and they wanted, back then they wanted to make sure that you made your television debut. And I had never been on any kind of television before until the Tonight Show. So yeah, for me it's always been good. It was a validating thing too. Again, when you talk about someone who's always trying to garner respect or whatever, it validated me within my community, with my parents. They understood that all these years of being broke and traveling all over and not being around for things, that, oh, when they saw me on the television on the Tonight Show, I think they got it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and like so that's what the point I was trying to make is like now, with Fallon and Kimmel, if you're on it, I mean it's a cool accomplishment, but it doesn't really help you with anything. Now it's all about podcasting. Like
Correct.
Rogan's podcast is unbelievable. Like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
I did Mark Maron's podcast. He was kind enough to have me on there last year. And I mean, so many people are like, I heard you on there. And it's like, wow, that's how it used to be with the Tonight Show. It's just weird. The whole medium changes, and it's smart that you have a podcast. And I always felt about podcasting because I always felt like, well, I've left it all on the stage. Plus, I also am trying to balance a family. But just now, as my son's older, I have a friend who been my best friend since we were little kids. She's a woman who went in, she became a cop and
Yeah.
she just retired. So we both went in these, at the time, male dominated fields in a time where there weren't a lot of women. So we have that. And we've been friends since we're 5. So we can tell each other to shut up or you're being stupid like nobody else. Right. And we do a podcast called The Cop and the Comedian. And we just talk about all the true crime surrounding comedy. And it's unbelievable what you come up with because there's a lot.
Yeah, and now maybe I'm wrong on this, but didn't you used to have a podcast with Vicky Barbalak, like Trailer Park something, or were you
No,
just a
that's
guest?
Sean. No, that's Sean Pulaski. I was
Uh,
a guest on that.
Oh, okay, because I remember I saw you on the guest. I was like, holy
Oh
Lord.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
nice. They're no, I never really. I went and helped out my friend John Melendez, Stuttering John. He started a podcast. I went out there quite a few times to just be a sidekick for him. I was on Jenny McCarthy's. She had her own Jenny McCarthy show on Sirius XM. I did for a couple years. I would come in and be a guest host for her.
Oh, Jenny's
With
awesome.
her, yeah,
Yeah.
she's super super awesome. Yeah.
She's like one of my heroes because like her son's on the spectrum, and I think she's like one of the main celebrities who brings a lot of awareness to it. You know what I mean?
A lot of people, I just posted this the other day. I said so many people owe her an apology because she stood firm in what she believed and what she saw the difference in her son. And now people are just getting hip. Listen, everybody gets everything differently. But
Yeah.
she knew her son, what he was like on a Tuesday, and the difference between him on a Thursday and what happened on that Wednesday. Right. So that's what a true mother does, is fights for their kid.
Yeah, and I was very jealous about the Mark Maron episode because you have a cool Vince Champ story, and
Oh,
I don't want you to repeat it, but oh my God, I was so surprised because I feel a lot of people don't really know who Vince Champ was, and
that was that inspiration for that podcast. I mean, those who just want to look it up, you can look. He was the winner of Star Search. He was the winner of the Clean Mouth competition. He was a African American comedian who just cleaned up in the late '90s, but he also was a serial rapist. And we
yeah,
staying in the comedy condos with people like me. Who
yeah.
knew? We didn't
I,
know.
I was gonna make a horrible joke where I was gonna say he was also Bill Cosby's mentor.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, I mean exactly. That's true. Vice versa. That's one of those vice versa jokes. So Tammy, I have 2 more questions, and I want to respect your time. But I wanted to ask you, when you were living in the East Coast when you first started, do you think that that really helped you get all your reps in? Because when you started, there wasn't a lot of female comics. There was maybe like 50 or so, and now you're getting,
20.
yeah. And now, do you think that that really helped you starting on the East Coast? Because when you went to LA, like you were ready for LA?
Well, I'm a Cleveland girl.
Yeah.
So I used to think that was East Coast until I met my husband's family from Brooklyn, and
Oh,
they're
you don't think it's
completely,
East
that's
Coast?
real. That
Uh,
Yeah, I used to think it was East Coast. I think what helped me truly, the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours, because I started at the Cleveland Improv. It was attached at the time to 12 other improvs, and its sister chain was the Funny Bone. So immediately when I went to work, I went and got to as an MC. No, I didn't make any money. Let's not. I suffered for my art. I think I made $7,500 my first year, and that money hasn't changed much for MC. Sadly, that's why I always try to kick in for my feature acts and stuff. But I went to work and I hit. I think the first year I worked 32 weeks.
uh,
Those were long weeks too, Tuesday through Sunday. That's how they
right.
used to work. 3 shows on some clubs Saturdays. So I think, yeah, I got that time in. And I never worry about what happens on stage. Right now it's the chaos that's in the audience, where the audience can't shut up long enough to allow you to entertain because they need so much attention. And not because of any situations other than just it's about me. There's nothing worse than a drunk woman in her mid 40s. It's unbelievable the amount of tension. And then, and then I think, you know, just being with the camaraderie back then of comics was so great. Why I didn't understand when I got to LA, because I didn't go to LA till 10 years in. So I went this, and this is the best advice I would give any comic who's thinking of trying to pursue their career to another level. I went to LA when I was like a split week headliner in an A room and a B room headliner. And I knew that they couldn't take that from me.
Right.
You cannot cast me. You cannot maybe make me move to another level, but I will forever and always be a comic. So I stayed in the comedy scene. I stayed in the Improv, the Comedy Store, the Laugh Factory, going down to, Comedy and Magic Club and stuff like that, Pasadena at the Ice House. I stayed a comic. And
Yeah.
I think that was what I can control. The rest you can't control. You don't even know sometimes if you're auditioning for something, if it's already cast because that guy's sister. Think about The Godfather. I would have been an idiot. I would have went and auditioned for the role of the sister on The Godfather. I would have been like, this is great. Well, it was already cast.
Right.
Clearly. Right?
Yeah. Well, see, I remember the day like when I started, and I don't know if like split headlining is this what you meant, but like when I started with Norm, especially, we'd have my contract would be Wednesday through Sunday.
Yes, that split headline.
Wednesday, I would headline, and they'd have the host of the weekend feature,
Yes.
and they'd have like an open mic or host the Wednesday show. Thursday would be Norm. I would get demoted to feature. Friday, Saturday. And then if Norm
Yes.
sells out, he'd do the Sunday. If not, I do the Sunday.
Yes, I was so blessed. I would do those. D.L. Hughley, George Lopez, John Panette, Dom Irera. So many of those guys went out of their way to help me and make sure that I got those. They were like, "We're not coming in till Thursday or Friday. Let Tammy cover the odd night." So
Right.
yeah, and it
I
was
wish
such a
clubs would do that
boom.
again. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what is you have to go. You're going to have to go to them own thing. You're going to have to say, hey, what are you guys doing on a Monday? What are you doing on a Tuesday? Let me come. Maybe we'll do a live podcast and then some stand up. We'll start the podcast at 5, take a break, and then they'll do anything on their odd space. And I think that's the way. Look at Leanne Morgan. Leanne Morgan is very, very
So
funny
great.
female comic,
And
right?
she's on a movie, and she just got her sitcom now, and
Yeah,
she's
I
been
just
doing it
went and
for.
watched her. Yeah, I just watched her film it. She's amazing. I literally cried tears of joy. I was so proud
Oh,
of Leanne when I was there filming, or she was filming. I wasn't. I was
yeah.
sitting in the audience, just so proud of her. But she found a way. She started going into these clubs, theaters, whatever, and she was like, I'm gonna go at 2 o'clock. What do you have anything going on at your club at 2 o'clock? Let me try it. Let me try it at 2. And they were like, okay, let's find your space. So you got to find maybe you're a midnight show. Maybe maybe you're a breakfast. We used to do breakfast at the Bone all the time at Funny
Oh my
Bones,
God.
Yeah. So you just never know. You got to find ways around it. Look at, why can't I think of his last name right now? Because I'm old and stupid. He's one of best friends of Johnny Depp. Um,
The
uh,
the
Doug
Tim.
Stanhope.
Oh,
Doug Stanhope. He
He's friends with Johnny Depp.
oh yeah, like he got sued by Amber Heard and everything. I don't know,
What?
not sued, but there was a lawsuit. Yeah, anyway, but Doug found these really cool rock clubs to do. And you know what I mean? Like Doug it's just reinventing the wheel just a little bit and figuring it out. Look what Tony Hinchcliffe did, right? I mean,
Yeah. I
do
mean,
I
I
say
don't.
his name right?
Yeah, I don't really agree with Tony Hinchcliffe, but I agree that he's made a platform for what he does. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, listen, that's the one thing about comedy is no matter who you mention, it's extremely polarizing. You
Right.
can mention 5 different comics, and if you mention them to 10 different people, they'll each have there's someone on every side of it.
Yeah.
Bookers, agents, anything to do with comedy.
Yeah. In my opinion, I just don't like being mean to people.
And that's fine because that's not your comedy,
Yeah.
right? But I think that there's room for that. Clearly there's room for that. People
Yeah.
found that. I think that people now, I was watching one of those YouTube, because I get lost in these rabbit holes, and I was watching a YouTube video of these younger kids, 19, 20, 21, watching Don Rickles, and they were mortified by Don Rickles, who was killing it.
Right.
It was like, I'm like, is this the difference? I'm watching going, oh my God, he's killing it. And they're going, oh my God, how mean is that? It's like, so, you know.
So I've never met Don Rickles, but I have a great Don Rickles story because Norm did a movie and Don Rickles was in it.
Oh yeah, that Dirty Work, right?
Dirty Work, yeah. And Norm was just saying, so yeah, I did this movie with Don Rickles, and he insulted me the entire time, and I didn't think it was very fun.
Ah,
So yeah,
you
but
got to give Artie a call, maybe. I think Artie's a great guy, and he loved Norm. There's nobody who loved Norm as
I,
much as Artie.
I've tried with Artie, especially when Norm died. I thought Artie could really help me, like spiritually get through it. He never returned my email, but Saget did, and
Oh,
Saget took me on the road with him for a while, and then unfortunately, Saget.
maybe we should come up with something. Like Norm was really kind to me. Yeah, there was a couple things that happened at the Ice House. I was coming out, and there's a comic who will remain nameless who really tried to get me bumped out of there,
Right.
and Norm stood up for me. And then yeah, maybe you should do some kind of remembering Norm show. Maybe
I
that's your way to do it, and
yeah,
make it a benefit. I mean, he loved Catholic charities.
yeah.
Maybe we could raise some money for something like that.
That'd be cool. Now, my last question for you, Tammy, because I want to respect your time, but if you could go into a
Thank you.
time machine and talk to a younger version of yourself and tell you what you know now, like what advice would you tell yourself?
Laugh more.
Yeah.
I don't laugh as much as I need to laugh. I take things too seriously. I got angry at times when I should have just pivoted and laughed it off. I took it to heart when I should have just laughed a little bit more. And that's everything in my personal life, in my business, everything. I should have laughed more.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm so glad you said that and you didn't say, Tammy, if Keith Reza writes you on Instagram.
It was so great.
Uh,
I was so glad. And you're so thorough. And I appreciate that. I
uh,
really do.
well, where can the folks at home follow and support you? You got social media?
It's all Tammy Pescatelli.
All right.
I used to say just Google Italian female comedian, but there's 50 of them. I think I was like one of the first ones. So I think I was, to be honest with you, I think I was the first, unless you count Rosemary Clooney. And Rosemary was a singer, a
Right.
funny singer, like so. But yeah, Tammy Pescatelli. Follow me. Don't follow me. I don't care what you do. I'm so over it anymore.
Right.
But Keith, we're friends forever now.
Awesome. Well, Tammy, thank you so much for doing this. It really means a lot to me, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you for wanting me to do it. I appreciate it. That means a lot. And listen, let's do it. Let's come up with things, people are really going to need to laugh. We'll do a night of remembrance from Norm.
Yeah. Well, whenever you're in LA or Phoenix, I'm willing to drive to Phoenix or Vegas. Let me know, and I would love to do it for you.
Sounds good. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye,
Bye.
Tammy.
Bye.
Uh, All right, guys. That was the episode. Subscribe, rate, review, and we'll see you guys next week on Razor Riffs.